All right, good morning, everybody. How's everybody's weekend shaping so far? On my end here, well, it's pretty much the usual, going through the list of of links available on TekAdvisor.ca and making sure I've got the latest in terms of that everything is up to date, that my data is correct, so that you guys can have an easier time going shopping for tech this weekend. And yeah, the whole idea of this stream is that I'm here in case you have any question and would want to have a hand in your search for a new device this weekend. So by all means, drop by and ask any question you might have. I've got, yeah, a fair amount of stuff to update this morning. Got almost 500 links to check, which is not a great situation to be in. But I'll do my best to go through that. Looks like I'll have a pretty busy day today. There's always slight changes around. Changes in availability and stuff like that. Alright, the Fire HD8, which I have myself. Pretty nice little tablet for the price, I must say. Pretty happy with it. Only thing I miss would be having access to the official YouTube app instead of having to go through a third-party version. Sadly, one of the downsides of that Amazon versus Google feud going on. That desktop PC went back up in price. That was quick, actually. It's already back up $200. Wonder if that affect the list I put yesterday on the for the newsletter. Got a little bit of a slow response from HP's own website this morning, it looks like. We'll have to see what's going on in there, if it's a matter of server issues, or maybe they're a little bit overloaded. I see they have the same coupon they had yesterday, so no change there. And that the stuff is out of stock now. So yeah, that's unfortunate. That's one less option for us this weekend. Alright, just making sure everything works. It seems that way. Yeah, one of the happy side effects of doing that streaming is that I actually find the information I'm displaying behind me quite interesting. Complements my, gives me context for whatever I'm looking at. All right, the robot got this one right. And yeah, the way this process goes pretty much every morning is that I go through popular stuff first, as well as some entries selected for random checks. After that, I go through basically I go in order of whatever I recommended recently, and then I just go down the list depending on how how often does something change prices really. So as time goes, the less and less likely I am to find something new. All right, this one is now out of stock. Yeah, Videotron is still selling that one. Right, this one is now available online and in stores. Used to be a in stores only kind of deal. Alright, this one is still in stores, but no longer online. I have to keep tabs on the Surface Pro line at some point. Just must admit I neglected that line of product a little bit because it's so expensive and generates so little interest from people following me and visiting my site that yeah, it wasn't really worth paying close attention to it. It's a little bit the same thing with Apple products. Still haven't caught up with the iMac Pro. Again, similar reason, it costs so much. Not sure I would pay that much for all in one. Even if I needed the hardware inside, having all of that in a single device it's just a bigger risk, you know. All that for something I can't easily repair after that? Nah. I'd rather have something bulkier I can maintain than something sleek and small that is just going to be e-waste pretty quick. So yeah, I find it harder and harder to keep up my interest in Apple products, to be honest. And the Microsoft owned products often fall in that category too, of that those high luxury items. They're worth the investment for someone who works on the road, you know, don't have access to a power outlet during the day to recharge, and has to do a fair amount of work while away from his desk, his or her desk. Um, it's just there's relatively few people in that category, and there's laptops filling that niche for much better price usually. Alright, so Best Buy still has the best price on that one. Let's see. All right. That 17-inch HP laptop is a common favorite of the site. It's somewhat worth looking into. It's definitely not a strong laptop or anything like that, but it's got a large screen boasting a low resolution. So as a result, everything looks a little larger right off the bat. So for someone who has some eye strain issues and stuff like that, could be interesting, especially if you don't need much really in terms of computing. Interesting. I see a lot of interest in that gaming PC this morning. That's good. That's a refreshing change from the usual. Although it's not what you're seeing on the screen right now. That is not a gaming PC. It's a pretty good work PC, especially if you're a little bit, you might want to try your hand at creative tasks a little bit, like Photoshop, Illustrator, and so on, because it's strong enough for that without, investing a lot of money in that. And I do have this one in its open box and brand new variant. That's good, no change there yet. Still out of stock at Best Buy here. It's becoming a little harder to find the 2017 iPad model in stores now, so I'm expecting the 2018 model to start appearing soon. Yeah, Apple announced it recently, but even on Apple's own website, it's not clear which model you're ordering right now. If it's the 2017 or the 2018, there's not a huge difference between the two. Processor is better. And if you really wanted the Apple Pen to do some drawing with, that's one of the options. It unlocks as well, but yeah, it's an expensive pen. Be curious to know how it compares to the other pens available for the platform. I heard some of them were pretty good. All right, I've been through the popular stuff. Let's see who's going to be the trending device for today. All right, and it's going to be this one, 941. So it's the 15-BS028 CA laptop from HP. It's got a touchscreen screen. It's a 15.6-inch model. It's got a competent processor. It's got enough memory. Storage is not the fastest thing out there, but once you're done loading, it should run fairly well. Still doesn't have the screen I would hope for a device this price, personally. Yeah, it's a little far off the mark there. It's even a bit pricey today because it just went up in price. But that's what has been trending recently. Sometimes it takes a while for trends to keep up with the reality of the situation. All right. That's good. I didn't have to go too far down the list to find my trending device of the day. Right. That bit is done. I think I'll take this opportunity to go brew some more coffee, and I'll be right back after that. I'll leave you with a list of recommendation per archetypes. So stay tuned. All right, coffee's brewing, so let's do a little bit more while that's going on. Uh, what's everybody's plans for the weekend? I'm probably going to have a bit of renos to do around the house. Old projects that never managed to finish around here. Otherwise, yeah, this is just the one more day working on keeping the data up to date for TekAdvisor this morning. Just going through through all the offers available to us from various Canadian retailers, making sure I have everything up to date and fresh for people visiting my site TekAdvisor.ca. So this is the perfect opportunity if you were, for instance, planning to go shopping for tech this weekend to ask for advice, or maybe if you had something you were planning on buying and you would like to have my opinion on it, or maybe more details about it. Maybe I could point out a few consideration with whichever pick you currently have. So it's a great time for you to ask if you'd just like my 2 cents on something. Otherwise, I'm just going through the links, and behind me, what you're seeing is essentially what device I'm currently updating on the site. I'm not showing my screen simply because it would be a little bit boring. You would look at a lot of websites loading and stuff like that, so it's progress bars and spinning wheels and all that kind of stuff. So instead what I'm displaying is the how would I say, the summarized stats for whichever device I'm currently working on the site. And yeah, I've got nearly 500 to update this morning. Probably won't go through all that, but I will at least go through whatever is most interesting right now. Yeah, I managed to finish a full update cycle yesterday night, so nothing on the site is older than a day. So it's not a bad. Currently, data is a pretty fresh state already. And as I said earlier, I've got a pretty busy day ahead of me, so probably will leave somewhere around the 50% mark. Currently at 20. Still going to be here for an hour or two. Yeah, and the way I work on TekAdvisor.ca has a lot to do with, well, I've noticed that it's pretty common for tech reviews to cover items which are no longer, would never make it in store really, that you can only buy from maybe the one or two places online, and they go out of stock fairly quick. So in the end, that's only a very small portion of what is actually available in stores. So my process, instead of starting with devices I think will be interesting, is to start with what is on sale in stores. And I keep track of those over time. So I'm taking a data approach, data-based approach to seeing what's worth buying for who, and tracking stuff like price over time, and see how a device's price evolves over time too. It can be surprising every once in a while. I've seen a few devices that actually start their lives on the shelves cheaper than the point at which they end their life on the shelf. Basically depends on what happens on the market and what happens to manufacturing cost and so on. So sometimes devices actually go up in price, even though they become harder and harder to come by because they start aging up. So yeah, it's pretty interesting sometimes. Can also see a few common practices from the retail end of the, how would I say, the chain by which we acquire devices. So sometimes some device will be enjoying rebates more than 50% of the time. So there's a few devices out there that you definitely should not buy at regular price, because the quote unquote regular price is not regular at all. And that's one thing I try to identify for my visitors too. So yeah, I kind of combine deal checking and actual tech reviews, and I'll track all that over time so that people shopping for tech, even if they're not interested in hearing about all the theory behind why you should pick one and not the other, can have a quick overview of how well a specific device is likely to suit their needs with as little technical acumen required as possible. And the most popular device are already behind us. So what I'm going through right now is basically recent picks from my newsletter. So stuff I personally recommended lately, and just making sure that the data entry on those is still accurate and still, well, yeah, still fresh for my visitors. It takes me a few hours every day to keep all of that fresh, and to be perfectly honest, the work is getting harder and harder as I go. There's definitely a lot of barrier being put in my way in order to keep my site up. But I feel it's important. I kind of enjoy the process of keeping all that data fresh and up to date, so I don't mind that much, really. All right. And I'm pretty sure my coffee's ready by now, so I'll just go grab that real quick and I'll be right back. Alright. Sorry about that. Took a little longer to come back than I first expected. So let's get back to work here. Wireless gaming mouses, not my, wouldn't be my go-to option personally, but that's mostly up to personal preferences. I'm more comfortable managing cables than managing batteries personally. And considering how long I keep my gadgets around, I usually, well, I've noticed that everything I bought with a battery uh, died pretty quick compared to wired options, so whenever I can get something with a wire, I go there instead, personally. I do know, however, that some people get really annoyed with wire drag. So when you have a wired mouse, one thing that happens is that the cable tends to get to be a little to snag a little and cause a little bit of extra friction in one direction. There's a few cable management techniques to solve that, but what solves the issue the most completely, or at least in theory, is to well, get rid of the cable altogether, so you get equal friction in every direction with a wireless mouse. So if that's something that you've noticed um, as an annoyance in your own the way you use your mouse, by all means go wireless. Wireless security with a mouse is also a little bit less of a concern. Wireless keyboard can be a little bit, how would I say, a little bit of a worry in some cases. It's still pretty common for wireless keyboard to not use encryption, so someone with a little bit of know-how could basically see everything you type, including your password, if you use an older unencrypted keyboard on your computer. So it's one thing to keep in mind. Of course, the radius is not super large, but in some contexts, it's a valid concern, like let's say an apartment building where you have a lot of different people in range. Depends how many close neighbors you have, really. Yeah, and that gaming computer from a few weeks ago is back at Best Buy. That disappeared from stock really quick. Must admit that computer kind of caught my eye too. That's Pretty interesting system. So it's back in stock online, but not in stores yet. Even online, it's a little bit scarce. Looks like the demand for that kind of PC was pretty high by a few weeks back. And it could have something to do with the GPU shortage we had for a while. A little bit of an update on that tablet over at Walmart. It's now available a slightly higher price and online only. And once again, if you have any question or would like my 2 cents or some on something, feel free to use the chat to get in touch with me. That's the main reason I'm here, to answer to any question my viewers might have. Yeah, I did consider including the Galaxy A5 this weekend in my recommendation. I ended up not doing it simply because a lot of higher end alternatives were available. And I always have that little bit of a conflict between recommending either the A5 or the Galaxy S6. Simply because, yeah, the S6 is older, but it was meant to be the best out there at the time of its conception. The A5 is roughly the same price, but it's much newer, but it was always intended to be a lot cheaper too. So as a result, the S6 overall is a better product. The only thing is that because it's so old, it's pretty unlikely to get software updates on a regular basis in the future. So if you're into apps and all that kind of stuff, the S6 is going to have lesser support. You might have issues running some apps in a relatively short-term future. It's probably not noticeable right now, but maybe 1 year from now or something like that. Um, and security wise, because it's going to receive very little interest from Samsung from now on. It's only going to get less and less secure over time. So those are the two downsides to picking the S6. The A5 is going to last you a little longer on the software front. So I'd say if you're into apps and use that sort of thing, go online quite a bit on your phone and all of that, the A5 is probably a better pick at this point. But if you're mostly into it for, you know, using your phone as an actual phone, uh, and or as a camera, the S6 is probably a better pick in that case. That one's now in stores only over at Staples. One's back in stock, but online only at Staples. And then we have a price drop here. Pretty substantial one, but not quite competing with Amazon yet. But it's available online and in stores now. So it might be worth a look if you prefer to shop locally. Alright, it's currently at 36% of what I would ideally be completing today. Expecting to go up to 50% only, to be honest. Have a little bit of a busy day ahead of me today. Sorry about that. Missed the mute button by a couple of pixels there. Barely had the time to reach it. And I missed it. Sorry about that. Yeah, one thing that was a little curious yesterday is that I actually managed to put a all-in-one in the list. It's a little trickier to recommend those usually because their bang for the buck or even versatility for the price rating are never very high. Um, they will last longer on average than, let's say, a laptop, especially of the same price, and for the price you get a much nicer screen, and usually the computer itself is stronger too. But yeah, the it's just hard to find the right combination of pricing on those. I like all-in-ones in a public setting, like let's say a computer that happens to also be in the living room or the kitchen, for instance. I personally find they make great kitchen computers. Kitchen tends to be a pretty good place for us to have just a device for, you know, social media, access to groceries, well, yeah, grocery lists, recipes, and stuff like that. It's been a very convenient location to keep a computer at for us. And since all-in-ones usually don't have any electronics in the base, that makes them relatively resistant to spills and stuff like that compared to what a laptop would be. So managed to put one in the list yesterday. Not a common occurrence, but they can be interesting for yeah, public places or very restricted spaces like dorm room or children's room and stuff like that. Um, their lifespan is not the worst. Usually there's some upgradability available in there, except the Apple ones. iPads are not very good for upgrades and repairs nowadays. Um, and you know, that stuff tends to always happen at some point. It's kind of naive to expect a computer to never need a repair, you know? It's a little bit like a car in that respect. So yeah, they're good for that kind of setting. And there's a lot less wires to deal with as well, which is one of the things that makes them nice for a public setting. They're just a little harder to find. There's fewer of them. And yeah, they don't use the models that I'm seeing right now usually don't fare very well on the TekAdvisor algorithms. They don't score very high. Right, I'm currently at 45%, so yeah, I think I'll push to get the last 5% done this morning before I go. As I said earlier, everything's relatively fresh on the site right now. The oldest things on the site date from yesterday morning, and most new of the newer prices were in effect already then. So today I'm just dealing with early change in stock levels, essentially, because it's pretty common for devices with very attractive rebate to go out of stock really quick. So that's one of the reasons why I do relatively thorough updates on Saturdays usually. The other reason is that one thing I've noticed, especially from Best Buy actually, it's pretty common for prices to go up on Saturday compared to Friday, sometimes by $10 or $20. So yeah, you can expect price to changes from certain retailers on Saturday to price to actually go up. And there's always special rebates and stuff like that, special events. Yeah, and behind me you can see a listing for the devices themselves, alternating between what is essentially a technical overview of how it compares, as well as a list of programs it's able to run and how well. And 1 star usually means you've got the minimal requirements according to the developers. And 3 stars is recommended. So if they've provided recommended specs for their software, that's what this 3 stars is. And 5 stars is means that you would be able to do to complete uncommon tasks with it. So if you're looking to do something, how would I say, if you heavily use macros or do something in a program that very few people do, like it could be like running macros, programming, scripting in the program, heavy use of advanced features and scripts. Or it could be stuff like running a game at 60 FPS at 4K, or it could be a matter of, let's say, you want to stream your video games on Twitch. So you would need a little bit of overhead on your main computer, assuming you're doing everything from a single computer, in order to be able to stream the game at decent performances. There's a few things that TekAdvisor cannot take into account, stuff like quality of your internet connection, your home network, and stuff like that, of course, especially for tasks which are very network intensive, like streaming or Skyping. Really, it's more or less the same task when you break it down to its technical component. So those are things I cannot assess for you, sadly. It would require a certain amount of insight, and that's variable, that changes too much from person to person. So I cannot make educated assumptions about it. But yeah, overall, that's how it works. The star system for device comparison basically tells you how it compares to similar devices. So for a laptop, 3 stars would mean that it's very, very much average. That most laptops are exactly on par with it. When you get 5 stars, is that that device is better than most other laptops. And just use a percentile system, so 4 stars mean that it's better than 80% of the market. Except for prices. For prices, you'd like the stars rating to be lower rather than higher. Right, currently at 49%, so I'm almost done here. So if you wanted to ask me anything, now's the time. All right, and that was the last one. So let's compile historical data real quick. It's going to take a couple minutes. That will allow me to, among other things, determine which user archetype is currently favored by the market. So yeah, that's the point where the TekAdvisor.ca compiles 400 combination of device types and user archetypes, and basically managed to make a list of recommended device for popular archetypes. So for the gamers, for instance, or the multitasker, that sort of thing. All right, now I've got all the stats done. So if we go to the TekAdvisor.ca homepage and take a look at, just have to go in, interact mode. There we are. And look at favored archetypes for today. So right now, multitasker shopping for a laptop or a tablet are seeing potential savings with 335 on laptops, but only $165 in potential savings for tablets. The casual nomad looking for a laptop today could be saving $220, not too bad. The photo editor, the pretty serious photo editor, could be saving up to $214 today. So definitely a great time for that. Those are pretty expensive devices on average. The aspiring creative could be saving up to $156 right now. And the serious multitasker looking for a laptop could be saving $135 today. So overall, not too shabby. We've definitely had much worse weekend than that. So that was it for today. Hope everybody enjoyed their weekend. And I'll see you later on TekAdvisor Live. Bye-bye, everybody.